So you've done the hard work. You've put in the late nights, you've gathered all that meticulous data, and you've done the groundbreaking analysis. But here's the thing, that work isn't really finished until you share it. So how do you take all that vital research and turn it into a published manuscript? Well, today we're going to break down that exact journey, step by step. Here's the game plan. First, we'll go from a general idea to a sharp question. Then we'll forge a smart aim. After that, we'll lay out the research blueprint, master the IMRID method for writing, and finally, we'll add those finishing touches that give your work real impact. You know, every single great study starts right here, with a spark, a moment of curiosity, right? A question that just pops into your head and won't let go. But the real trick isn't just having the idea, it's figuring out how to wrangle that spark into a real, structured, and powerful study. So let's dive right into that first big step. Taking a general idea and sharpening it into a focused and, most importantly, an answerable research question. This is where we get specific. You know, a key thing to remember is that your research is joining a conversation that's already happening. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Your real job is to find what's missing. That means you can't just review the literature. You have to really analyze it to pinpoint that one specific knowledge gap that your work is perfectly designed to fill. And this is why that focus is just so critical. Think about it. Without a clear question, your research is just a jumbled pile of bricks. Yeah, there's potential there, but it's not going anywhere. But a really well-defined question, that's your foundation. That's the first solid layer that makes sure everything else you build is strong and makes sense. Okay, so we know we need that solid foundation, but how in the world do you actually build it? Well, lucky for us, there are some great frameworks out there designed to help you do just that, to turn a pretty good idea into a really great question. If you're doing any kind of clinical or interventional study, the PICO framework is going to be your best friend. It's super simple, but it forces you to get crystal clear on 4 key things: the population you're studying, the intervention you're testing, the comparison group, and the outcome you're going to measure. Let's make this real with an example. Take this question. Does routine nasal decolonization reduce MRSA infections in surgical patients? Using PICO, it snaps right into focus. Our population? Surgical patients. The intervention? Nasal decolonization. The comparison? Well, that's no decolonization. And the outcome we're hoping for? A reduction in MRSA infections. See? Simple, clear, and totally testable. Okay, once you have that solid question locked in, the next step is to translate it into a clear, actionable aim. If the question is your foundation, think of the aim as your final destination on the map. And let's be honest, a vague goal is just not going to cut it. The gold standard, the thing you should always be aiming for, is a SMART aim. That means it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. This little acronym is what turns a vague wish into a concrete plan of attack. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got to study hand hygiene. That's like a black hole. Where do you even begin? But then look at the strong aim to increase hand hygiene compliance from 40% to 70% within 6 months. That's not a black hole. That's a laser beam. It tells you exactly what you're measuring, your target, your timeline, and your method. It's totally focused and doable. Now, before you write a single word of that manuscript, you need a solid blueprint. This is all the behind-the-scenes stuff, the really crucial organizational work, the administrative and ethical groundwork that actually makes your study possible in the first place. You've got to nail these 4 things for your study to be taken seriously. First, pick the right study design for your question. Second, define exactly who you're studying and how you'll find them. Third, write a super detailed protocol that covers every single step. And finally, and this is a big one, you have to get ethical approval from an institutional review board, the IRB. All right, with all that prep work finally done, it's time to build the manuscript itself, and the universal language for scientific papers is IMRAD. You should think of it less like a rigid format and more like the secret language of scientific storytelling. So IMRAD stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. Each part answers a really basic question, which creates this beautiful, logical story. The introduction asks, why did you do this? The methods section answers, how did you do it? The results answer, what did you find? And the discussion answers, the big one, so what? What does it all mean? It's a flow that just works. So, now that we know the structure, how about a quick pop quiz?
I'll show you a sentence from a research paper, and you figure out which IMR-MAD section it belongs in. You ready?
All right, first one. The study included 120 nurses from 3 ICUs. Where does that go? Yes, that's a classic method sentence. It's describing how the study was done and who was in it. It gives all the details someone would need to understand your work. Okay, what about this one? This improvement may be related to increased awareness. You got it. That's pure discussion. See, you're not just stating a fact. You're interpreting it. You're suggesting what your findings might actually mean. This is where you connect the dots for your reader. And now, we get to the final, absolutely critical pieces of the puzzle. Your abstract and your title. You often write them last, but they are the very first impression anyone will have of your work. So they have to be good. And honestly, this says it all. A title like Antibiotic Study, it's basically invisible in a sea of research. But the strong title, it's descriptive, it's packed with keywords, and it tells any reader exactly what they're about to get. That's the difference between being scrolled past and being discovered. When it's all said and done, this is the one idea you've got to hold on to. Your work, your amazing discovery, your contribution, it only really matters once it's out there, once it's shared. Publishing isn't just the end of the road, it's a vital part of the research process itself. Your research has a story that deserves to be told. It has the potential to inform people, to challenge ideas, maybe even change a little piece of the world. So the only real question left is, what story will you tell?